Wet, cold weather. Time to fix a book. I found this old copy of Chapter House Dune at my local secondhand bookstore. On first appearances, it definitely looked like it's seen better days. Cover's pretty dinged up, and more concerning is the front cover's torn off from the rest of the book. Thankfully, the rest of the cover seems to be in decent shape. So I wanted to see how I could go with trying to reattach it. So I started by cutting back all the loose threads and torn paper that was in the tear, just to try and clean it up to give a nice clean surface for the repair glue to bond to. I'd originally thought I might be able to reattach it without severing the top part of the cover, but later on I kind of bit the bullet and just kind of accepted I needed to go all the way. So the other thing that I sought to remove here was just any bits of glue that remained from where the cover used to be attached. I think this may have been tried to be repaired before, so I cut that right back just to give it a fresh start. So gently cut it along with the rest of the seam. Cutting through the mesh, and managed to separate the cover from the rest of the book plate. And again, just tidying it up a bit so there's no scraggly ends hanging off. This is where the fun starts. So I fold the cover back and make sure there's enough of a lip there to be able to apply some PVA glue. What I'm going to be using to do this repair is something called Marurishi Japanese repair paper. It's kind of a lightweight but strong tissue paper. So I take the PVA glue and I apply a decent amount of it along the lip, but being careful not to put too much of it on there because I don't want it to kind of overflow and squirt out when I compress everything. Just making sure that the glue hasn't leaked to the other side. So the Marurishi paper, I kind of cut that down to size, wanting to make sure that it kind of will fit in there and is about the width of the thickness of the book. So I'll lay that gently on top of where I've been applying the glue and just use the back of the paintbrush to work it flat. And then I just let that dry for about an hour or so. So once that was dry, I cut out a bit of greaseproof paper, which you just typically use in cooking, and I wanted to sit it on the inside of the spine, because what I didn't want to do was for the glue to leak out and attach to the back of the cover. So the greaseproof paper is to act as a barrier. So as you can see, the Marurishi paper will lay flat on the greaseproof paper, and then when I fold up the cover, it'll press it into the book plate. So the technique I'm going to try is effectively to lay that down, apply glue to the back of the book plate, and then fold the cover up and press it down onto the book plate in such a way that it hides the tear and creates kind of a new seam. So I want to try and avoid seeing a tear through that seam. Now ideally if you had like a book press or some kind of clamp that doesn't exert too much force, you could use that to hold it in place while the glue dries. I didn't actually have that, so I just kind of held it for a period of time. So you want a decent amount of glue on the back to ensure that the repair paper will attach, but not too much that it starts squirting out everywhere and gets in places you don't want it to get to. So what this Marushi paper is seeking to achieve is it's trying to create another layer to bond the top cover to the book. If you didn't use something like this, you're effectively just applying a thin strip of glue on the boundary of the cover, which is like, I don't know, a couple millimeters thick, so there's not a lot of strength in that. Where I'm putting the glue now. So that should just really be for the aesthetics, is what that glue is doing now. It's just attaching that cover and hiding the same. The actual bond that will hold the cover in is from the Marushi repair paper. Alright, so laying down that paper just to make sure it doesn't stick too early. And applying a little bit of glue just on the other side, just to help it bond. Right, so then you've got one shot to give this a crack. If it doesn't work, pull it back. The Marushi paper will need to be replaced, but do a couple of dry runs first. So once you get it where you want, press it down firmly. And if you don't have a book clamp, you just have to do what I did and hold it there for about 15 minutes or so for that glue to dry. So after 15 minutes or so, it had dried enough to hold itself together. So when I pull the pressure off, the paper remains attached. You can see a decent seam in there, which is exactly what I was looking for. So laying it down, I wanted to try and square it off a little bit while the glue sets. So PVA glue takes about 24 hours to dry, so you want it to go overnight. But before I put some weight on to hold it flat, I wanted to make sure no glue would squeeze out. So I put a bit of extra greaseproof paper in between the cover and the first page just to prevent those two sticking together just in case. Squared it off, put a heavy book on, leave it overnight. So the next day, glue's all set. Take a bit of a look. It's dried nicely. As you can see, there's a beautiful seam there. You can barely tell there's been any damage to it. The next bit is to remove the bit of greaseproof paper in the spine. It's a little bit stiffer in there than I'd expected it to be. With a bit of wriggling, managed to dislodge it and pull it straight out. And that's it. Nicely repaired book. I have a full video out a bit later, kind of going through all the other bits and pieces that I did to work on this book. So there's a few stickers I'll remove, replace the dust jacket cover with something a bit nicer. Thanks for watching.